Okay. So good to see you guys again.
You too.
Good to see you.
So we're going to do a dialogue or a dialectic into dialogos on place, on the idea of place. And just to review for people who are coming to this cold, right? So you can kind of understand why are they talking like this in this strange way. We're doing dialectic into dialogos, which basically means that somebody takes the position of being a proposer of, in this example, the question is, what is place, right? And then another person will be the adducer or the listener, and their job is to midwife and to draw out the fullness, right, of the proposition or the proposal. Then after a period of time of that, once it's drawn out, then the person who's listening will step into appreciation and say what he appreciates about it. What's still missing, or what's missing or mysterious for him, and anticipation, which is, I think the sense of anticipation is like, what is the trajectory of this? Where is that headed? And then the role switch, and the person who was listening becomes the next proposer. And I think the idea is like to build on the previous proposition is kind of it doesn't have to be that way, but that's kind of the spirit of it, right? And then the other person is what they call the scribe, and the person is going to kind of track the content of the proposition, so that we can, at some point we can look back and go like, well, what did I say in the beginning, right? And then update the changes as it goes along, and also to mind and note and notice the dynamic and the relationship, right, between like the proposer and the listener. Because a lot of times, just like in the Platonic dialogues, much of the meaning of the dialogue actually is happening in the drama, in the play, in the drama of the dialogue itself, in a non-propositional way. Mm-hmm. So, observing, minding that level and drawing it out.
Yeah.
Is that third perspective.
The relatio, not the relata.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Fantastic.
Okay.
All right. So we ready? So Daniel, I have a question. What is place?
I thought you start.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry.
I can also start.
I'll start. I just okay.
Guy, tell me what is a place?
Place. So I just want to name the different things that are aspects that are floating around in my mind and see if we can find a through line through them. Something like place is a gathering. Mm-hmm. That withdraws and determines in repetition through time.
So place is a gathering that withdraws and determines in repetition through time.
And what I mean by that is I was thinking about, like, place seems to, it has this self-organizing quality. So it's got this gathering aspect to it, right? Of you go to a place and you recognize the place because it somehow it gathers the architecture, it gathers the accents, the dialect, right? There's something gathering, right, about place. It gathers into itself. But there's also this quality of where, like, in that way that you can go to another country and be there for a couple of years, and then you come back out of it and you talk to the people, you go back home, and all of a sudden people back home notice an accent that you've gotten. You picked up on an accent, but you weren't aware of picking up this accent, right? So there's this kind of it's this, in one sense, it's this self-organizing gathering, but it has this it also withdraws, right, from it. It's not directing things. It's withdrawing, and you get this sense of, over time, it seems to be constituting the logic and the order and the style and the cadences and the streets and the names of the streets. Yeah.
What exactly is withdrawing?
Yeah, it's a good question. The awareness. The awareness of the gathering. The awareness of its operation.
The awareness of the operation of the gathering.
Yeah.
So let me just clarify. There is something going on, kind of gathering, which gathers things like architecture and accents and so on.
Yeah.
And so this gathering is the place, right? And one aspect of this is also that what withdraws is the awareness of this self-organizing gathering.
Yes. I don't know if that's the right word, but awareness is the right word.
Okay.
Because it's not like it's totally concealed, right? It doesn't totally withdrawn, because at any point you can kind of like look around and go, oh yeah, I'm at this place and I can recognize this place because of this, this, and this. But there's what I want to say, it's like it has a certain quality of anonymity, right? That in some step is shaping, right, the architect and, right, the speaker and the town planner, and like there's this kind of way that that I don't get the sense that for example, as the person is picking up this accent, there's some place in that sense goes way background, yet it's still determining and shaping, right, and gathering. Yet it's not like it's super explicit and up front in people, right? So it's like I don't know if we call that what withdrawals is a kind of awareness of the way that the place is constituting, right? The meaningful gathering that makes it a place. Yeah.
So you talked about the kind of hidden agency. So that the
That's a great.
place is enacting. Is
Yeah.
the place doing the gathering and the withdrawing, or is there something else that's more primordial, more original, or is it the place?
Maybe we could talk through this.
Mhm.
Well, you can't. It's interesting. It's like as I was thinking through different places and like trying to find the through line in my mind,
Mhm.
you can't reduce the place down to anything, right? You can't find the thing, the
Can I-
object,
Yeah.
something like that, right?
So the place is like a whole that encompasses all the parts, but
Yeah.
cannot be.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, it's like that. So I guess it's in some sense, it's like, I want to say something, maybe place is one of the ways being articulates, in some sense, articulates itself in some unique way, right?
The place is what exactly? What comes out when being articulates itself, or the result of being articulated
Yeah.
itself?
Well, your question is like, I think your question was something along the lines of what is doing all of that,
Yeah.
I think,
The
right? And it's
gathering, the
place.
withdrawing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I want to say, well, yeah, I think place is doing all of that, right?
Mhm.
Well, what is it well, but then it says like, well, what is it that's gathering? Why? Right? What's gathering place? What is that? And then it brings up kind of, then my mind kind of goes to the way being is, right?
Mhm.
But I think this is probably a good place to, yeah, you can ask questions for clarity about this, but I don't think I want to go all the way to being yet.
Sure. You wanted to say this is a good place to what? To dwell there or to stop?
Yeah, to dwell, like just to dwell here.
Okay. One thing that I noticed is that, ordinarily we would say places is like a thing, but in your proposal you went to ing words. It's gathering, it's withdrawing. So it has a verbal quality and not like, it's not like a noun that we describe. It's more like we describe it with words. That's why I was curious about the agency, because usually we think, okay, something is doing this,
Totally. Yeah, totally.
And that's just why I was curious what you thought. Like, why the ing words? What is the verbal quality announcing for you?
I think it announces this way that actually it's not a thing. Like it's got a no thingness aspect to it. You can see the marks, this distinguishing marks of a place and its style and its architecture, right? Like you were talking earlier in the medieval towns, right? Of where there was nothing arbitrary about everything, about the height of the church, tallest point, right? North, south, all of that stuff was all of that was none of it was accidental, all of it. Yet you can't reduce it to any particular thing. right?
Mhm.
So it's got that quality of you can see the evidence of it. You can see it in operation, in the style, in the particulars, but you can't see it itself. I think that's why.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So you can
Just
see,
like a person, right? You can't reduce the person down to like what the person wears or what the person looks like or what the person says. Like there's something
Mhm.
inexhaustible yet particular.
Mhm. Inexhaustible yet particular. Okay. Guy, what is a place?
Place is the no thing that gathers
Mhm.
and sustains the particularity of itself.
I will repeat. The no thing, so place is the no thing that gathers and sustains the particularity of itself.
Yes.
You're happy with that?
Yes. A little surprised.
What surprises you?
I'll just want to say that last part felt really, really clear or clarified. I'm surprised at the clarification.
Mhm.
Although there's something really mysterious about this too. It doesn't feel
Yeah.
complete, right? But
Yeah. Can I go into appreciation?
totally.
Okay. So what I appreciate about this was, like, I also felt like a leap or a jump. So really that we arrived at the place that we weren't able to get to in like 10 minutes ago. It's kind of like I really felt it in my body. And I appreciate that there was all the time we lingered around the mystery.
Yeah.
Kind of like it was always the withdrawing was there already in the beginning. But I
Yeah.
think we really went a little bit into and followed the mystery. So I appreciate that. What's mysterious to me is still like you compared it to person. So places like person, something like the human being with all his or her, let's say, parts, body parts, and so on, aspects. Like that to person is like a city or to place.
Yeah.
Like everything that's going on in the city to place. Seems to be an analogy there. That just calls me. I think I will work on that in my proposal. I'll build off from that. But there's where I can kind of like see where we could go from here.
Yeah. Thank you. That's great.
Thank you. Sandra, do you want to say like what the dynamic was?
Yeah, I do. I really, what I noticed was the almost surgical precision of Daniel listening, and like the word surgical precision really says it for me. It's sort of like if I were having an eye operation, I would like that kind of attention from the surgeon to that operation.
Mm.
And that attention to detail contrasted to Guy's painting. I had the image of Guy painting a picture and totally intuitively painting a picture and having no idea what he was painting until it comes forward that and he was surprised by what he saw. It was such an intuitive act and such an intuitive action that he was doing, but with the aid of this surgical precise listening, then suddenly what the idos of that came forward, leapt forward almost.
Mhm.
Mhm. It was nice to watch that. I love doing that. That's a wonderful aspect of this that we haven't really explored.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
totally.
a great
Yeah.
addition to the process.
Yeah, you'll have to find out what the name of that is.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, now, so I will do the proposal. Sandra will listen, and
Okay.
Guy will do the minding, the eyeing.
Yeah, I'm not a surgically precise listener, so I'm not sure I can do you justice, Daniel.
It's okay.
Let's see.
I don't think I'm that good of a listener. Um, okay.
So Daniel,
Mhm,
tell us what place is.
mhm. I'm dwelling with this what Guy, what we drew, what we talked about in the last round. That places somehow it has a no-thingy quality, but it's, I wouldn't say it's no-thingness itself. It's the one itself. It's the principle itself. It's being itself. Something in between. And so is person something in between. Something that's above just the, let's say, the strata, the layer where there's just the parts, but in its self-organizing, it's somehow in between. So the word that came up, and Sandra just said it, although in a different context, but the word came up for me was eidos, like places, something like the form that gathers this self-organizing and at the same time also protects it, shelters it, harbors it. But because it's like just like the aspect of personhood, it took a lot of philosophers, and suddenly realize took a lot of thinking. So we kind of realized that there's a kind of, I don't want to say divinity, but there's a kind of moreness. There's a kind of moreness to, let's say, cities, people, and so on. So with all of that being said, I want to say place is the I feel I like words. Place is something like place is mediating between the particular and the universal. And harboring, self-organizing the first, so the particular, and giving expression, giving articulation to the latter, so the universal.
Okay. Okay, so let me see if I can reiterate something like that, Daniel. So place is that that self-organizing, articulating, and expressing, articulating the universal. Well, that's what I get. The place is articulating the universal. Is that fair? Or have I've left something out there?
Yes, but there was this mystery about the agency, who's doing all of this.
Yeah.
And it's like, I speak a vernacular. You speak Canadian English, Guy speaks American English. So it's like we're all doing something, like we're all participating in place, but neither of us is like the place. And so is the universal. The universal is also by articulating itself, it's also, I didn't want to press the agency fully towards the universal, because then we don't have the particular. It's kind of like then what's going on down here is just, random, but it doesn't feel like that. It's like we are participating and with place, and the universal also participates in place.
So it's a reciprocal.
Yeah, for me it's reciprocal.
Yeah, a reciprocal recurring and never continuous articulation and particularizing of what, I'm not sure of what. I've gotten to another place. Here I've just said I've gotten to another place. Interesting. Interesting, eh? Yeah, interesting. So it's on the move. Place is on the move, it seems. But in this reciprocal articulation and reception as well, there's of which operates in this self-organizing way. Mm-hmm.
Can you maybe formulate a question that kind of like where you're not sure, or what's not clear?
Yeah, what's not clear is, again, what's not clear is the agency for me.
Okay.
Is place the agency?
No.
Mm-hmm.
When I asked Guy the question, he suddenly started talking about the no-thing equality. And also with the analogy of the person. it's something like there's something deeper, which we don't know yet what that is.
Mm.
I've now used for my term just particular and universal. But there could be other words, I think, to that we could use. It's like because we we were in the beginning, even before we started the conversation, we were kind of laying the groundwork with, you know, medieval towns, or, you know, like the like Chinese or Japanese, like the capital cities where like the emperor lives.
Mhm.
And in some sense they are, these places are, they are like analogical, they are like symbols, they are like symbols between what's going on in heaven and what's going on the earth. They're like symbolically joining
Mhm.
those two realms together. And so for me, like a place is, maybe that word, I didn't have it in mind like 10 minutes ago, but maybe place is like a symbol that joins together and gathers together, and self-organizes, like the universal, the heavenly realm, and the particular, like the earthly realm. But then we could say, okay, well, then is also the agency again. I don't think that the symbol, maybe does a place qua symbol have a life on its own? That's now a question, but I won't be able to answer that in my turn.
So so what you're pointing to is a reciprocal dynamic interchange that comes through symbols, that is articulated through symbols, but there is that there is no clear distinction. It seems to move of its own. There is no clear mover and move. There is no clear agency and agent.
It's like it's like we are in a participatory middle mode.
That's
when we talk, we all place needs us for, so we all participate in place. But at the same time, when there's no connection, this is kind of what I learned from something like Heidegger or like all the Platonic thinkers. If there's no connection to a principle or to your universal, like place or polis becomes sterile and like lifeless and dead. Just static. Chaotic, static, just, you know, they collapse. So it's like it needs the participation of both in order to have something like a life.
Right. Yeah. And the reciprocal interchange of the action of both. Right. Yeah. Okay.
Which is then also inscribed in rituals, in careful language, in
vernacular versus correct language. It's expressed in that in many ways.
I would like to end and just with another proposal. And I will just repeat what I just said. Place is a symbol. Place is like a symbol, a symbolic idols that joins together particular and universal, and lets both of them be for their own sake.
Okay. So place is a symbolic eidos that joins the particular and the universal while allowing both to be
for their own sake. In their own right.
be in their own rights. Can I say what's mysterious then about this? All right. So what's mysterious is, for me, that what's mysterious is that we're moving towards defining place as totally placeless, we're defining place as something that operates in a dynamic way and informs symbolic expression, but how we are defining it is opening place up to be infinitely placeless, infinitely without specific place. That seems to be where this is going, and that's really quite a surprise to me. So yeah, can I make a proposal then?
Let's just that Guy can
right,
give
yeah,
comments
Guy.
on the
Right.
dynamic.
You want to do probably before I do that? Do you want to go into appreciation?
Yeah. Well, certainly, yeah. What I appreciate is where it felt that we were trying to narrow. The more we were trying to narrow something down, the more it was opening up and revealing it, almost revealing its vastness and its universal nature, its glory, kind of thing.
It's kind of like, for me, just as a final comment, it feels like I've described the features, but there's nothing inside. So it's just like an empty vessel with nothing in.
Yeah.
Just
nothing and yet everything, really, too.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'd say the thing I noticed was that last thing that you just said, as the features, I was watching both of you kind of as you got clear on some of the features, there was almost like a vacuum, right? To its center I watched it just become apparent, right? Like it became apparent in your facial features.
Oh yeah.
Whereas at the beginning you were like kind of looking at something and paraphrasing that way and kind of trying to join with the thinking, and then towards the end you were like this kind of sense, right? But that was kind of the movement of it, like something opened up, but also kind of seemed to organize itself in the process. That's interesting. All right.
Yeah. And an image of a place being a whirling dervish, it sort of whirls around and
yes. Yes. You just grab my pad real quick. All right. So Sandra, I had a question for you.
Yes, right.
What is place?
What is place? Well, place is certainly ungraspable. It's ungraspable.
Yep.
It is universal.
It's universal.
Yeah. It is intimately in perpetual dynamic relationship with being as it articulates itself. It's an intimate relationship with that, with being as it's being articulated.
So it's ungraspable, it's universal, and it's intimate in its dynamic participation with it.
With being.
With being.
With being in its articulation, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it feels insofar as what I've said, it feels as if it is an integral part of beingness. Yeah. It's almost a quality of beingness. Integral. Yes.
Beingness, yes. So it's ungraspable, it's universal, and it's intimate in its perpetual dynamic relationship with being.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
In fact, it's so intimate that it's an integral quality of beingness itself.
Beingness itself. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So this integral quality of beingness itself so I get this sense of like that really kind of points to the ungraspable, right? In some way, the inexhaustible, right? It's the universal, right? That gets at the universal part. The intimate, perpetual, dynamic relationship with being. That maybe starts to get at the particularizing.
Yeah, it starts to get to the particular, but then it's gone. It's like this whirling dervish, that I keep seeing. It's beingness is situated, but then it's not situated. It's being, but then it's not situated. Like that's place. The place always is part of being, but then it's gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So in that sense, it's kind of like we getting back to that. I'm thinking about that way that Daniel drew out that sense of person from when I was proposing in that way that, yeah, like you are, Sandra, there are particularities about you that in some sense make you you. Yet if I go to actually reduce you down to those particularities, I can't, right? Those particularities express something that withdraws.
Yeah, immediately, as soon as, yeah. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah. That's how I'm seeing it. Yeah.
Right.
And it's at the same time as it's constantly withdrawn, there's also a sense of order, or order, universal order, where everything has its place at the same time as nothing is
Yeah.
place. Yeah,
So you've
there's that
so
part as well. That
so there's
everything has its place in the
yeah,
universe. Mhm.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
yeah.
What's accounting for this order, this ordering?
Yeah.
Because you're right, like there is a quality to a place. It's like it's reliable, it
Mhm.
repeats itself, right?
Mhm.
Iterates, tons of repetition.
Mhm. Yeah. And how am I able to perceive this order, which I am, at the same time as seeing that there's no permanence to place. How do I know that there is order? I mean, that's a mystery. How do I say? Yeah, that's a mystery.
Mm,
Yeah.
mm, yeah,
How do how, how on earth do we, because I mean, we look around and obviously there is an order, and there is a order in a metaphysical level, but how do we know this? What's the relationship between that order and us knowing it? I mean, in a sense, that's another symbol, I mean, in a sense, it's another articulation of what Daniel was talking about. There is this reciprocal relationship between the expression of it and the knowing of it.
yeah, yeah, totally,
Mhm. So
totally.
it's operating now in us as we are talking about this. It's
Yeah,
revealing itself, and its place, totally mysterious, like,
mhm,
yeah.
yeah,
Who's the agent? Again, who's the agent, right?
yeah, yeah.
Who or what is the agent of all this?
Right. And so you're saying, like, how are we able to perceive a place
Mm-hmm.
as a place?
Mm-hmm.
What's going on in our, is it like the question, like, what's going on? What does that reveal about place? Our ability to know a place.
Mm-hmm. And to know that there is an universal order as well, because we know that we enact it always. This is part of our beingness.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's important to us. We care about it. We care deeply about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's this relationship right there to care.
Yeah.
I just want to hold that up, care and place.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I guess the question I have is, it's it's something like, is it that we care about the place, or does the place gather our caring?
Good question. Yeah. Like,
If we kind of draw, like, I'm wondering if we draw, if we get how you're distinguishing it, right? So to replay,
yeah.
place is graspable, it's universal, it's intimate, in its perpetual dynamic relationship with being. And being, right, place is an integral quality of beingness,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? And it's this interplay between the universal and the particular,
Mm-hmm.
and that interpenetration
Mm-hmm.
creates a kind of order that we can recognize and
Yeah.
care about.
And care. Yeah. The caring comes from the intimate relationship. I think it's a natural outcome of the intimacy of that relationship.
Okay, got it. So So what I think what I'm hearing you say is it that because place is in some sense the quality that brings intimacy to being, right?
Mhm.
Through this integration of the universal and the particular, right?
Mhm.
And the repetition and the order that that gives, right? Is the way that it's like it's. I think what I'm hearing you say is the way that it's intimate. That intimacy itself is what patterns or draws care.
Mhm.
Like so, it's like you could say the particular of this universal intimacy.
Mhm.
It particularizes itself through us caring for it, shows itself in our care, and that is an expression of this intimate relationship that
Yeah.
that places the quality of intimacy of being itself.
Mhm. Yeah, it's like the intimacy um yeah, I mean, like the intimacy of the same kind of an intimacy of the creator and the created, that kind of,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
given. It's a given that it's a deep caring reciprocally.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
intimacy, that intimate a relationship. Yeah.
So that's interesting. So, and the analogy you just drew is between kind of like, what did he say was
Between the creator and the created.
the created? Yeah.
Mhm.
And that the creator cares for the created, and the created in turn cares for the creator, right? And that exchange, that interpenetration of that care is how, in some senses, like how we come to care.
Yeah. And it's how place expresses itself then, with the clear and unobstructed intimacy that place is both particular and universal, and expresses the order. It's an expression of the order as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So the people caring about the place is the expression of the place. Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the places, one of the ways places.
Yeah. 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 It's funny because we were struggling with agency all through this, right? And it's come around to this. I mean, the agency is the relationship.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Okay, great. So place is this interpenetration of the universal and the particular. Well, it's primarily what you're saying. It's an integral quality of being. Place is an integral quality of being itself, right? That brings an intimacy between the perpetual dynamic relationship with being itself. So the particular and the universal, and that intimacy is what is expressed through the caring, for the way that the human being cares. It's an expression. That's an expression of place. The way place places.
That's really interesting. Thank you. Where we got, that was very interesting place we got to, isn't
Yeah, totally.
it?
So I can go. I can go into appreciation.
Mm.
Well, one of the things I'm appreciating is just how it built, right? How kind of all of this from with me through Daniel, through you, I could feel it, the continuity through all of it and how it developed, right? So I really appreciated that. I also liked how we kind of, in some sense, where you brought out the mystery of like, how can we perceive it? How do we care about it, right? This kind of quality of something snapped in there, like, and I think, because if you think about like, especially a human place, like a city or something like that, think about how much care is involved, right? In a fucking city, Jesus Christ, right? Like how do you account for that? And in some sense, I think you kind of put your finger on some of the mystery of that. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's care at every level. I remember when I was walking through London with all the busyness, and I was aware of all the, I mean, you have to have pipes that don't burst and leak. You have to have joints in the plumbing pipes that someone has taken that would start to fall apart. And care has to be all along the way for this place to manifest itself in its fullness. Every little detail.
Right. Totally. And also that quality, I guess, this is kind of goes into free form, but well, actually, Daniel, do you want to say what you noticed about the dynamic?
Well, I really noticed when care suddenly, like, then the questioning became very precise, I think, and really like just following that trail. But then was really like when Sandra just said there's a caring involved in this, like, and the creator that also really resonated with you, Guy. And then you were really pursuing that. That was just really what I noticed. It was like when that word was said, it was like the inquiry became really focused and you really gone into that direction where I think then there was really a good process of midwifing, let's say.
Totally. This kind of, it'd be interesting to, like, as we go into kind of free speech now, to look at, if I bring in, so all of this, what we just said about this, especially this connection of being, right? The intimacy of being, right? That places the way that the particularity and the universal quality of being interpenetrate, right? In this intimate, expressed in all these different ways that we talked about. Now, if I just take like, let's just say, let's take a track home suburban.
A what?
Like take like a suburban track home. Home, or these kind of cities, these placeless cities, right?
Right. What we were talking about before.
What is it like? Like what in some,
Yeah.
What's missing? Mhm.
You know, with the care, and then I read, and then we come back to the original thing of those dialectic into dialogos things, virtue, right? Because we say things like we have reverence for a place, or we are in awe of a place,
Mhm. Mhm.
or we are struck by, I don't know, the tone or the quality of a dialect or of a place.
Right.
And with care, right? As soon when Sandra was bringing up this, right, this relationship which is so intimate, and in order to care for it, well, because it's so intimate, we care for it. And then, of course, right, then we also have virtues.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And when there are
Mhm.
no virtues, or there's no awareness for this, then
Mhm.
places become placeless.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah, in some sense, yeah. Kind of like I was thinking about the style of a place and the architecture of that place. So you just think about like the I'm in Modesto, which is really doesn't have much of a place here.
Mhm.
And there's a neighborhood like about a mile away from where I am, where it's the whole neighborhood is all the homes have these kind of little hints of it looks like kind of Danish. I think it's Danish houses, right? Where it's got these like curved tips at where it's like the top of the house is
Oh,
got
yeah,
like,
like that? Yeah,
and all the houses are like that, right?
yeah.
But in some sense, like when you go to the original place, it's you can feel the time, right? And the layers of tradition and people doing this over and over and over again, right?
Mhm.
And it shows in its style in a certain way, but it's so linked to care,
Mhm.
Mhm.
right? And in that kind of repeating itself, right? Over and over and over again, right? Through multiple generations,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It shows itself as the place that it is, right? And but you get that sense of moreness that comes out of
Yeah.
it, right?
Mhm.
Versus when he just kind of takes that, right? And then builds it without all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It kind of like it's the particular that has no ring of the universal.
No ring of the, yeah, no relationship to the universal at all. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just a simulacrum of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting how even things like Zoom, because we say like the internet is a place, and it's interesting that even Zoom can become like a place
Yeah.
when we treat it with care, when we treat the
Yeah.
people involved with care,
Exactly.
and so on.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. That's really interesting.
Yeah, that's very interesting. It becomes a different, well, it assumes a place. It assumes a living place when we treat it with care. But if we don't treat it with care, it's just a piece of technology.
Yeah, and like Zoom or like Reddit or YouTube just becomes like, just junk of information.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's just junk. Yeah.
Yeah. We talked this corner of the internet.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Totally.
Mhm.
Yeah. And it's interesting how that word gathers a whole slew of people and conversations,
Yeah.
right? And
Mhm.
then that name, this corner of the internet, it just picked up right away and it's repeated, right? And it kind of does this gathering.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's interesting. I was also thinking about too, Daniel, about because I know that a big part of your life was really had to do with this relationship, your relationship with Japan,
Yeah.
right? Like, in some sense, wouldn't you say that that in some way was
I was
what do
always
you-
looking for a place, like, or like trying to escape for
Mhm.
different reasons. But yeah. All what I learned, right, is that in some sense, and this comes with Heidegger, you know, and trying to have a dialogue with Japanese, with people from there and with the culture and so on. What I learned in the last years is that how can I say? There's still something like we are heirs of a tradition. We are heirs of a place, of a culture, and we cannot kind of, I mean, we cannot give that up in some sense. That
No.
will that we are like, that just lives and breathes in us, and
Yeah.
trying to like let go of that. What we can do is like try to learn, and then perhaps also what I often see, you know, when we were, for example, talking about the symbolic quality of those medieval towns. I was like, okay, the Christian city or Rome or Beijing or Kyoto, they all have the same features in a sense, although the expressions are different, because being is like this tree with many branches, in almost infinite branches, and it's like it's like this there. It's like nature, you know, when you're in nature and you have this billions of species, you know, and these are all expressions of nature in some sense.
Yeah.
And so it is with languages. It's kind of similar with that, and vernaculars. It's like you can't count them. And they're also always dynamically evolving, although there is an element of, you know, the same, let's say. So it's like always, but then we could talk at some point. Maybe we could talk about what home is.
Yeah.
Because home is like Japan is not my home. It's like I found traces of placehood there that I felt were like more forgotten in the West, but it's not my home.
Totally. Well, hey, you guys, I have to get going.
Yeah.
I also have to go. So
Yeah. So Daniel's traveling next Monday, Guy.
Okay.
Yeah, but we might be able to do the following Monday if you're here, Daniel, right?
when I'm in Canada, yeah.
Yeah.
I will bring my laptop. I will bring my laptop, so we should be able to meet.
No, next week, but the week after. Sounds good.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.